A very good morning to you. Today is the 9th day of February. Yes, I'm not
You're counting.
I'm counting. I'm counting. I think I missed a day, and I promised myself that today I will not miss. But this is how we welcome you to the Idea Morning Digest, where we talk about things around science, technology, entrepreneurship, policies, development, education, business, and all of those things, those issues that matters to you and I. My name is Cynthia Bassi, and of course, I know on some days I've been alone here, but from now henceforth, I'm not going to be alone. I'm never alone. I will never be alone.
You'll never be
Good morning, everyone.
Good morning
Yes,
to
good
you.
to be
Good
here
morning
with
to you, Nigerians, wherever you are in the world. Welcome to Idea Morning Digest, and I look forward to the interesting conversation we're about to have this morning with you as well.
Yes, we have a whole lot lined up for you. So if you like things we do here, share your thoughts with us, share your insights, ask questions, share your opinions to our social media platforms on Instagram, on X, on Facebook, YouTube, and even via our email at Idea TV Limited. Your voice matters, and we want to hear from you, like I always say. But before that, let us remind you of the headlines we'll be bringing your way. Okay, the first news story we'll be bringing to you this morning is that Canada-based Nigerian charged in suspected hate-motivated harassment case, and Africa needs 6.1 million more health workers by 2030, says Africa CDC. And then lastly, IPOB ends Monday's sit at home across Southeast. But before the break, we'll be bringing a whole other segments to you. We'll be bringing what's trending. We'll be bringing a talk with one of our senior analysts here on Idea TV. We want you to stay with us and don't go anywhere after this break.
Number 6, digital twins for cities and industries. Digital twins, real-time virtual replicas of physical systems, are
Welcome back. You're on Idea Morning Digest. We begin the conversation this morning with Canada-based Nigerian being charged for suspected hate-motivated harassment case. The Toronto police have charged a 40-year-old Canadian-based Nigerian, Kayode Robert, following an investigation into a suspected hate-motivated criminal harassment case in the city. Police say the incident occurred between Tuesday, July 1st and Monday, December 29th, 2025, involving repeated confrontations with a neighbor. Authorities allege that Robert assaulted and harassed the victim, issued threats and kicked the victim's dog. Investigators also say that he made anti-LGBTQ plus remarks during the incident. The case is being handled by the Toronto Police Hate Crime Unit, which treats offences believed to be motivated by bias or prejudice as aggravating under Canadian law. Roberts, a Toronto resident, was arrested on Wednesday, February 4th, 2026, and charged with assault, criminal harassment, altering threat, and causing unnecessary pain or injury to an animal. He is expected to appear before the Ontario Court of Justice on Thursday, March 19th, 2026. Police stress that all charges are allegations and the accused is presumed innocent until proven guilty. Here is a case of another Nigerian in Canada who is being charged for hate crime, assault on a dog, and anti-LGBTQ remarks against the neighbor. I think for many Nigerians that are traveling abroad, we understand the situation of the country, and there are many reasons why people migrate or relocate to other countries. It doesn't have to be that there is a war or famine happening in your country. Many people travel for many reasons, but when you go into another society, you need to begin to understand the system, how it works, what are the things you can do that is not allowed in that country. In Nigeria, you can kick somebody's dog, and there are laws that are protecting. There are laws protecting that, but we all know that these laws are not being upheld when it comes to Nigeria. I remember the case of a lady in Lagos whose dog was killed because it wandered into another person's compound, and it was an emotionally support dog for the lady. She came out, and there hasn't been anything we've heard about the case since then. Another issue that has been raised about the issue of the LGBTQ community in Nigeria, there's a law against same-sex marriage or openly displaying of affection or love between people of same sexes. But in Canada, the law protects these people. While the law also protects them in Nigeria, as a citizen, you must be protected despite your race, ethnicity and tribe, or your sexual orientation. It doesn't allow for them to practice it, but as an individual, you're protected by the law. So you can't go to another country where they are really protected. And because you have that notion or have that ideology of what you believe about people who are into LGBTQ community, and then you begin to insult or cause chaos in the country, you're going to be upheld at the court, and you're going to face justice for the actions that you've committed. So when people travel abroad, acclimatize yourself with the society, learn the rules and the laws. Don't think that because the world operates somehow where you've come from, then you bring yourself to that, you bring your world into another person's country. You need to learn about the country you're going into, learn about their laws and the regulations, and how do you engage and operate with your neighbors. If you have problem, the police system works. They call the police, ensure that you get the authorities involved. And another thing I want to point out is the issue of the perception of Nigerians when we go abroad. Are we seen as a troublemaker? Are we seen as people who, because every now and then troubles will always happen, disagreements will always happen, but it adds to the statistics about Nigerians abroad and the kind of behavior that they exhibit in another person's country. So if you feel while you're in Nigeria, you are all almighty, things can't happen to you, or you get by or go or you do things without consequences. When you go to the United States or countries or Europe or Canada, for instance, you need to be able to focus on the country, learn about the rules of law, how does it operate, and lay low until you're able to voice out and be a person of repute. But that doesn't also deny, I'm sorry that I'm taking long, that doesn't also take away from the fact that you are an ambassador for Nigeria abroad. You are a representation of the country. So whatever you do, whatever behavior you exhibit is a reflection to all Nigerians, and the consequences is for all to bear.
I mean, you said everything. You said a lot. You started off with saying how, first of all, the fact that a Nigerian was involved in this, or is involved in this, hate crime investigation, is not the biggest concern here to me. I just feel like all of those framing is lazy now at this point in time. What matters here to me is what you just said about identity, about migration, about personal behavior and how it collides with places with very strict social and, should I say, legal boundaries. And you mentioned something which is I can say is very correct, because most times Nigerians just, especially Nigerians, we just travel to other country without understanding, getting a full grasp, of what their laws, how the laws work there. In Nigeria, most of the time we do things on emotional basis. Most distinctions are out of emotional basis. But in other countries, it is not like that. Law is law. Whether you are this, whether you are that. Even in Nigeria, even if we have a law that says that doesn't support LGBT community, I'm not even sure how strong is any law is in the country. Come to talk of the LGBTQ,
we've seen many people, many gay clubs, alleged gay clubs being raided and suspects being paraded in Nigeria, but we've never seen anybody convicted of that crime in the country.
Exactly.
So that's the law has to, or the prosecutors have to show beyond all reasonable doubts to provide evidence that these people are actually engaged in this activity. But that is not even your problem as a Nigerian citizen. You are there to look for greener pasture. I can
you are there to look for.
I can boldly say that you are there to get yourself. So if you're in another country, there was an African who I saw who lived in the UAE, and he was being harassed, let's use the word harassed, by the neighbor because he was wearing shorts. A man, and it was told that don't put on shorts when you come out of your house, and he continues to wear shorts. Said that the man, and he was deported at the end of the day, was fired from his workplace because he didn't listen. So there are rules and regulations in other countries, just like there are rules and regulations in Nigeria. Follow them so that you protect our image as Nigerians when we travel abroad.
And we should always understand, or also understand, that individual actions will, kind of represent a whole nationality.
Exactly.
We should have that at the back of our minds, that all of these things. So Other places work different, especially this is to Nigerians. Other places work differently. If you say you're going there for greener pasture, you should be for greener. It's not the one that will see one mommy on the internet will be spanking somebody's child because the child refused to do it when entering, you know, a bus. But then we have to move to the next story. These are interesting stories, but if we stay here, we'll, you know, be on them for so long. But then the next news we have here is that Africa will need an additional 6.1 million health workers by 2030 to meet essential healthcare needs and care needs and achieve universal health coverage, according to Africa Centers for Disease Control and Prevention. The estimate is contained in the Africa CDC's African Health Workforce Compact Investment Case Analysis Report published on January 29, 2026. The report says most African countries are constrained by low health spending, with only Rwanda, Botswana, and Cabo Verde meeting the Abuja Declaration target of allocating 15% of national budgets to health. It highlights chronic staff shortages, underfunding, and brain drain, alongside heavy losses to medical tourism, with the African Development Bank estimating $2.4 trillion spent on overseas care. Africa CDC is urging government to reframe health as an economic investment rather than a cost. But we've gotten the basis of this story, and I feel like this is one, this kind of, if I hear things around the health sector, it really makes me, should I say, kind of uncomfortable, because it exposes a truth we keep dodging. Wale, we keep dodging that Africa is not short of talent, and I always say this: we are not short of talent, we are not short of skills, we are not short of potential. We are only short of political will. We are only short of that political seriousness. When is that time we are going to? When is that time going to come that we are going to start taking all of these things seriously? Because 6.1 million health workers is not abstract numbers. It's not something that was just we are seeing it in reality. We are seeing it each and every day in Nigeria here. The health sector is going on strike. If nurses, association of nurses are not going on strike, it's association of dentists, it's association of resident doctors. So all of these things, it translates to clinics where, you know, you see one nurse sees over 50 patients a day, because nobody is left again in the country, and we are complaining. I mean, the health sector have been complaining consistently now since 2024, if I'm not mistaken, of serious brain drain, serious lapses because of due to health workers migrating to other countries. You see doctors burning out because they cannot handle the patients that are coming into the hospital. So all of these things, what I find most telling is the Abuja Declaration reference, if I'm not mistaken here. And that agreement was made since 2001, as far back as 2001. That is over 2 decades later. This is 2026. And only 3 countries are meeting that 15% health budget benchmark. It tells us that Africa are not serious. Africa is not serious, rather. We are not serious at all. And that's not I don't see it as a funding challenge, because every now and then, is either the government, is either foreign aid are sending in what they need to send. It was just of recent that some foreign aids stopped coming into Africa. I just feel like it's a priority problem, and we must understand this. What do we put first? What do we put last? I mean, Nigeria is preparing for election next year, and I see all seriousness with that. Anywhere you turn your head, you are seeing election. Anywhere you turn even your nose, you are smelling election. So I want to know how we set it. It's a matter of priority. We have to understand in Africa, we have to understand how to set our priorities, right. Now let's talk about the brain drain. Without moralizing it, I don't want to moralize it too much, because doctors and nurses are not leaving Africa because they dislike their countries. It is because they do not have an enabling, thriving ground. They have a failed system. When a Nigerian trained doctor earns millions of naira a month in the abroad, you expect them to stay? Even if I'm working, like you always say, now where you they work, 9 you they, shop. I'm patriotic Nigeria, but not everybody can. This resilience we are talking about, it is really
stay back in the country.
Okay.
Should anything happen?
No, but at this point in time, patriotism will become a luxury.
Will become a luxury at the end of the day. But if you're familiar with something about me, the past few days that we've been having extensive discussions, because we've had something about the health sector at this table last week when we talked about health insurance in the country. And you would have noticed that I'm not a fan of MOUs or things being signed or declarations being made. I'm all about the people and what are the actions, activities, what's the money behind it. Because it's easy for governments to put themselves together and cobble some documents and produce a result and say this is what we want to achieve, Vision 2030, Vision 2050, Vision 2060. It's easy to make those declarations because there is no compelling action, or there are no agencies that are tasked or funded to ensure that these are adequately implemented. When we look at the health sector that we're talking about, how many doctors do we have in Nigeria? How many doctors are present in Africa? We are heavily dependent on donor fundings when it comes to our healthcare. We cannot outsource health to other funding international donors or NGOs or civil society organizations. Healthcare is a responsibility of the government. You need to ensure, if it's the private sector that's coming in to invest in it, how are you making sure that there's an enabling environment? There's subsidies provided for these healthcare professionals to be able to run successful business, because it's still a business at the end of the day. People need to make money out of it. And if we look at the government institutions or government funded healthcare health facilities, how are they managed? How successful are they running? When you go to UTCH in Abuja or UCH in Ibadan or different college hospitals in Nigeria, you look at the dilapidated, degrading, backward system that they are using. The people are not being well funded, salaries are not being paid on time, resident doctors are going on strikes. When they see opportunities abroad, they run away from the country. You mentioned 50 doctors to one patient. I'm sure if you look at the statistics better with the condition that we have in Nigeria, if we look at it from different geopolitical zones, there will be places where they have 1,000 citizens to one doctor. In some communities or even in IDP camps in northern Nigeria. So how are we ensuring that we deploy adequate resources to different quarters in Nigeria to be able to solve that problem? We can't have one way to fit, or people in IDP camps cannot be able to afford NHIS no matter how easy or accessible it is. People that can't put food on their table cannot think tomorrow and say, I want to go and pay for NHIS or whatever new scheme that they've decided to call it. So we need to look at it from their different angles and say, how can we deploy resources to solve all of that? Nigeria is not short of resources to deploy to ensure that citizens have adequate health care. And it is also not the responsibility of the federal government alone. State governments, local governments. Now we see that money is being funneled into or channeled into local government chairman. Now we see all of this Minister Wiki and the likes putting their children up for electoral opposition when it comes to local government. So resources are being put into, are being channeled into all of these offices. How are they spent? How can we ensure that we have a system for checks and balances to ensure that the basics of survival for humans, for Nigerians, are met? Things like water, shelter, medical care, food. For Nigerians, a lot of Nigerians are hungry when they can't able to afford. We talked about different things, different challenges that leads to this collapsing healthcare sector. When people are not eating well, they will fall sick and they'll have to go to the hospital at the end of the day. So there's a whole lot. So it's not even targeting the healthcare sector alone. Target hunger as well to ensure that people are eating well, they're eating balanced diet. If you're eating carbohydrate from morning till night, you will continue to fall sick because there are no adequate nutrients that are entering your body. So, I mean, it's an extensive conversation that we need to continue to do, and the government needs to sit up. You are deploying money to elections, just like you've mentioned, but here, these are the people that needs to stay alive for them to be able to exercise their franchise and bring you to power. But we need to move on to the next topic. IPOB ends Monday sit at home across Southeast. Schools, markets and offices across Nigeria's southeast have opened today, Monday, after the indigenous people of Biafra announced the permanent cancellation of its weekly sit at home order with effect from February 9th, 2026. The group's spokesman market without consulting traders. This is a welcome development for the state. We've seen this happen over years. That according to their leader, Nnamdi Kanu, who is still being incarcerated by the Nigerian government, whether or not you believe the allegations levied against him or the injunction by the court that has been granted to continue for his prosecution and his detention. But he has been able to come from his from where he is to make this declaration, because we saw what Soludo did the other day, that he threatened to demolish the place and go ahead with the master plan or build schools or whatever it is he wants to build, because this is an economic sabotage on the state.
Exactly.
When Monday mornings, entire Monday, we're supposed to be the first day of the week where market activity is supposed to happen, when we see that being neglected and jeopardized because of somebody's political interest or political affiliation, then we see that there's a great disservice being done to the people of the state and its environment. So this is a welcome development, and I hope that the federal government and the state government and respected members of the society will look at how can we able to solve these issues. The indigenous people of Biafra have legitimate concerns about security on their land, about the management of their resources, about things that are very pertinent to them, but they must be able to exercise that displeasure or express themselves in a civil and orderly manner, and that's what the federal government of Nigeria is doing. That you cannot make announcement. You're not the governor. You're not a sitting member of any political institutions in Nigeria with the power to declare sit at home. And people continue to respect that because of the authority with you assumed among them. Yeah. So out of fear as well, because when everybody's closed and you open your shop, you don't know what will happen to you. But I'm happy that we've been able to resolve this. And going forward, I hope that, just like I mentioned, respected members of the society will be able to find solution to the issue of Nnamdi Kanu. Let us find a solution to his problem. He cannot continue to stay in prison. And he also must be respectful. He also must show the willingness to be able to accept his blame where necessary. Because you cannot continue to say that the federal government has wronged you, or the state has wronged you, or the citizens has wronged you, and you continue to hold the people ransom based on your own personal interest. Nigeria is all our interest, and we need to go forward. No part of Nigeria is going to leave the country shortfall of any referendum that is sanctioned by the government.
I mean, I'm just looking at this as something that history is going to judge one day. That's how I'm looking at it, because I mean, something you mentioned was the most interesting part of this whole putting an end to this hate-at-home is the fact that the order is coming directly from Nnamdi Kanu. I mean, that tells us that how should I put it? It tells us that where legitimacy still resides for the place where legitimacy still resides for many followers, because I mentioned fear. I mean, it also highlights some kind of vacuum in our political terrain, because in our political leadership, especially coming from that region, because when a non-state actor is giving an order, that's I think it carries so much weight, because it's telling us that our governance has failed somewhere. I mean, the governor of a state, I mean,
in other Nigeria, we see people paying taxes to bandits. We see people paying ransom,
negotiating, having dialogue with bandits. So all of this tells you that our government has failed.
Taking the power and the responsibility of the government, which are supposed to have the monopoly over governance of a state.
We have failed somewhere. This only shows that we have failed, because how can the governor of a state come out, give an order, and people refuse to, follow that order? So, and another thing they should understand is that lifting this seat at home alone is very necessary, but it will not put an end to the problem automatically. We are looking at a social and economic problem here, because that trust somehow has been eroded from the minds of the people. So it is how to, reinstate that trust the people have in their government, in their state. That is what we are looking at here, and how to now build the state back. Because for a long time, mixed with fear, coercion, economic downturns, and all of those things have brought harm to the state. So I think that is what they should look at. They should look at the social and economic aspect of this. How to revitalize, should I use that word if it's the better word, how to revitalize the state. And it won't happen unless they have better security, unless they have a dialogue still with this IPOB people and understand who has more authority in the states. Who should people listen to at this point? Have real dialogue with them, and policies that makes people's daily life worth protecting. That is the kind of that is what we should be talking about at this point in time. If not, this relief we are talking about for today, if people are going to resume school and go back to markets and go back to work on Monday, that is today. If not, we're going to see this relief and it's going to bring frustration tomorrow. So we just have to know that. But then let's take a recap of the headline.
1 to 1.5% of the world's electricity efficiency has become critical. Google, Microsoft, and Amazon are racing to power their data centers with renewable energy, while chip makers like Nvidia and AMD are optimizing for performance per watt. Carbon capture startups are using AI to scale up efficiency, and researchers are designing fully recyclable electronics. In 2024, Microsoft announced it had achieved 100% renewable energy coverage for its global operations. By 2026, green computing will no longer be optional. It'll be baked into how the tech industry operates. Number 6, 6G networks and beyond. 5G is still rolling out worldwide, but work on 6G is already in motion. South Korea, Japan, and Finland are leading trials, with commercial deployment expected around 2030. 6G aims to use terahertz frequencies to deliver speeds up to 100 times faster than 5G and latency as low as 100 microseconds. That's fast enough to support real-time holograms, autonomous fleets, and massive IoT ecosystems. The ITU has begun setting 6G standards, while companies like Nokia and Samsung are actively developing hardware. By 2026, early 6G pilots will give us a glimpse of the post-5G world.
Okay, good to have you back. You're still watching the Idea Morning Digest. And now it's time for the discussion segment where we want to talk about how the federal government has resumed fuel import licenses to, stabilize supply. So we're seeing cues to price uncertainty, and Nigeria's energy conversation remains one of the most sensitive issues for households and businesses alike. And this morning, our attention turns to a key policy decision by the federal government, the resumption of petrol and diesel import licenses. According to oil marketers, the move is aimed at preventing supply gaps as local refining capacity is yet to meet national demand. And while authorities insist this is a temporary stabilization measure, it has reignited broader questions about energy security, domestic refining, pricing, and the pace of Nigeria's downstream reforms. And we'll be unpacking this later with our senior in-house analyst. But then, Adewale, this is another I think Nigeria has interesting issues this morning. Interesting, I don't mean in a very happy mood for all of them, but I just see what this decision quietly admits is that refining capacity, like we always talk on paper, on press releases and all of these things, and fuel at the pump are two very different things. We should understand that, because Nigeria loves announcing capacity figures. We love announcing indexes. We love announcing this refinery can do so and so barrels per day. This one can do, tomorrow you hear this one can do this barrels per day. But households don't buy capacity. What household buy is PMS. What household buy is fuel. And we come out on a random Tuesday morning or on a random Wednesday morning, and then you come and when people are already late for work, and then we are announcing fuel price is going to be do this fuel price. You are on a queue, and then you are hearing fuel price has reduced, or it's either it has reduced or risen. But people don't buy all of this capacity. People don't buy all of this stock. Local refining is first of all, I must admit that local refining is a structural win. That is no doubt. But refining is not about processing crudes. When we talk about refining, it's about logistics, it's about blending, it's about storage, it's about tracking, it's about, all of those, it's about distribution. How does it get across to the people? How does it go all over the country? That is what we should be talking about. So I feel like when a policy messaging, raises ahead of how operation is supposed to move, then there is a problem. There will be that confidence gap. So that's what we should understand here, because queues are returning whether we like it or not. Prices of fuel will start going high whether we like it or not. And these are the things that people do not, when we come out to talk, like I said before, about prices, about indexes, about, capacity and whatnot, people do not understand all of those things. People do not understand all of those things. So we're talking about import licensing returning. It's not. I don't see it as a policy failure. I just see it as a policy that is more or less trying to catch up with reality. And like I always say, my uncomfortable or my unpopular opinion, like I always say, is that Nigeria is still in a transition phase. And, transitions can have its own upheavals. It can have its own up and down, whether we like it or not. So pretending otherwise, that we do not understand what is going on, only creates that shock in the system. I don't know if you have something to...
I'm actually very short of words right now, because it's vexing, I should say. And I'm sorry that I'm bringing my own emotion into this, because I'm also a Nigerian. And it pains me to the core to have to see the federal government of Nigeria allowing licenses for the importation of fuel into the country. Refined fuel into the country. When President Bola Ahmed Tinubu was inaugurated, he said subsidy has gone, and Nigeria paid the price for that. We waited patiently because we believed that this administration had its things all together, had its brief together to be able to ensure that they allow or they facilitate adequate supply of fuel capacity in the country. But over time, we've seen several developments happen. The Dangote refinery came up on board, and we started to have conversations about the supply of crude to it. NNPC and some other Pegasons and some other labor agencies also kicked against several actions or policies being implemented by the Dangote refinery, accusations about the monopoly and what have you. But Nigerians were more particular about the supply, because that's what is most important for us. Adequate fuel, kerosene, petrol, diesel. These are the most important things that fuel our economy in Nigeria. And every now and then we keep having conversation about we're importing, we're giving licenses to import. There was a time they said they didn't want to provide Dangote with crude, that you should continue to get its crude. And NNPC said, they need to continue to allow importation into the country because they have business buyers and they have contracts they need to honor for the time being. But now we're seeing that there's no strategy at all. Everything continues to be reactive rather than being proactive. We're not making... there are a lot of countries that are importing fuel into their country. America is self-sustaining in fuel, but it continues to import. The UAE, Saudi Arabia, they're self-sustaining, but they are not importing for local consumption. That is the problem. We're not saying don't import fuel into the country. They're importing to export. India is the largest importer to frame this of crude oil.
Is it local versus foreign supply?
India is one of the largest importers of crude oil into the country. But the bulk of what is being imported into the country is being refined for export. But we continue to have that discussion about local consumption. How much are we consuming daily? What's the barrel production for the country daily? What's the output in the country daily? We need to get the statistics right. And those are the conversations that led to the suspension or the removal of fuel subsidy, because we don't know how much we're consuming a day in Nigeria. So people said 650,000 barrels. So people said 800,000. Different statistics are coming out. But we cannot adequately or boldly say this is what we're consuming in the country. So every now and then we'll continue to go back to this conversation. After 4 years of this administration, we'll continue to go back to, we're importing more fuel into the country. Dangote even went ahead say whatever you want to say about him, about monopoly in the country, but it's providing it for the common man to be able to at affordable prices in the market. What exactly is wrong with this government when we're not getting our brief right?
I think this is more like putting our eggs in one basket.
Putting
which
all
is
eggs in
a
one
ve-
basket,
It's
you
a
continue
first
to import.
choice.
You are importing
It's a first
substandard fuel
choice.
into the
Exactly.
country.
It's a first choice. No
They're
serious
destroying
economy.
people's generators,
No
destroying
serious
people's cars
economy.
into the country.
Exactly.
We're not saying those imports. We're not saying those allow for this continuation of distribution, importation, and refining into the country. You need to continue to allow that flow so that economic activities can continue to grow. But when conversation continues to remain about local consumption, when do we want to get it right for local consumption?
When do we want to get it right?
Every now and then, okay, December is coming, peak period. We've been able to successfully evade that last year. I mean, to some extent, because of Dangote refinery. To some extent, with Dangote refinery. But every now and then, our problem continue to bring us down. We talked about the upstream sector, the downstream sector. NNPC came out the other day to say that they're looking for investors into the local refineries in the country. Trillions of naira has been invested by successive governments, from Buhari to Jonathan to Obasanjo and the likes. They've invested heavily, to Yar'Adua, they've invested heavily in Nigeria's domestic refining refineries in the country. But what can we show for it? If you have hundreds or thousands of people there at the facility collecting salaries at a high price, while ordinary civil servants can't even enjoy the same salary that they get, then they should sell it. You don't even need to sell some stake out of it. Sell everything. Look for iron condemn and let them come and carry it so that we can rest.
I mean,
so that we can rest in this country. Every now and then we keep talking at NNPC.
There's no serious economy that will want to put its eggs in one basket.
The president that continues to retain himself as the minister of petroleum. Let him find something else to do and talk about the killings happening all around the country. Must we continue to have the problem? What if we're not an oil-producing nation?
I think our problem is in Nigeria is always over-dependency. And
if we're not an oil-producing nation, are we not going to get ourselves right? Is China an oil-producing nation? Are they not the world's second largest economy today? Because they continue to solve their own problems. Every now and then, every market we need to have this conversation about oil importation. If it is not importation, it's about refining. If it's not about refining, we're talking about the local iron condemn refineries that we have in Nigeria. If we're not talking about that, we're looking at shortage fueling. Must we continue to have this conversation about it? I mean, what if we don't have oil?
We need to understand that a single refinery, a single dominant refinery, if I should put it that way, will not solve.
Let it be dominant.
Even in a
we're not getting anything from that. Let it be dominant.
Even a world-class refinery, it won't solve. It's still exposed. Even world-class refineries are still exposed to maintenance shutdowns. They are still exposed to, all of those, should I say, feedstock distributions, all of those shipping delays, and all other regulatory bottlenecks. They still go through these issues. So
there is no bottlenecks anyway. The bottleneck is corruption. That is the bottleneck.
That is what I'm trying to say.
That is the bottleneck that we have. We need to call it the name that it is. You are using big grammar for them. Let them know that the bottleneck we are talking about is corruption. Because when
I think Nigeria is just trying to find an insurance with these licenses.
I don't care about the licenses. When money passes from one person to another, we understand that something must drop in another man's pocket, and that is where these people are profiting from. If they're no longer going to profit from the subsidy that the government is providing to them, they want to profit from importation. They want to profit from other means to continue to ensure that they line their own pocket. At the expense of most Nigerians.
I think what we need to
do now is Nigerians have to suffer the most. Why must we have to be the one to volunteer to feel to bear the brunt and feel the pain? While these regulators, while these agencies, while these importers, while these marketers continue to line their own pockets, make profit. If this happened in other countries, they would revolt against the government, and the government must take action. But Nigeria, from 1960s to when? When are we going to stop this? I'm not saying that there won't be. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying that there won't be pockets of issues all around. But if it becomes the dominant conversation that we're having in the country, then it is a problem. We continue to fund the refineries that are not working. We call them modular refineries. We call them another name tomorrow. We say that we've made this investment today. Oh, China is invested in it today. We're bringing out technical partners from another from Russia tomorrow, and every now and then we continue to have this conversation without them producing anything.
But do you see diversification as lack of patriotism at this point in time?
Diversification in what area?
Spread their wings. It's kind of a risk management.
Let them sell everything. Sell it to the private sector. The government shouldn't have to retain anything. The essence of the governance is to ensure that market forces are able to operate in a serene and conducive environment for market activities to thrive. That is your responsibility as the government. Don't hold on. When we had issues with is it Celtel or the federal government having the monopoly over telecommunications in the country, when it was privatized during the Obasanjo era, privatized, we had Glo, we had MTN, we have Airtel, we have
different
suppliers, even people providing data access and facilities to Nigerians. People can now choose from a multiplicity of suppliers or internet providers. It has been able to solve the problem, decentralize the system.
Exactly.
But here, they continue to make money. Corruption is the problem. Corruption is the problem. And until we take corruption out of it, there is no country in the world, there is no developing nation in the world that succeed without solving its political problem. This is a political problem. It is not even an economic problem.
Exactly.
Today, until we be able to take this away from the mouth of the people that continue to profit from the suffering of Nigerians, this problem will continue to revolve around the same issues. By next week, by next month, by next year, we'll continue to have these issues about the refinery that is not working. There was a time Otedola and the likes investors bought the refinery, some of the refiners in Nigeria, and they went around and lobbied with the president at that time to take it back into the federal government, because they know that when the private sector is running it, you need to account. You need to account for it, but when it's been organized and run by agents of the federal government, they can just sit down in their own offices and sign checks and do whatever it is that they want to do, while they're gaining exorbitant salary every month. Salaries that ordinary civil servants cannot be able to get. Can we just move on as a nation? Can we start talking about the health sector? Can we start talking about innovative technology? Can we start talking about things that developed nations are focusing on? We're talking about artificial intelligence. We're talking about renewable energies. We're not even focused on that. It's just this crude oil. It's just this refinery that we continue to hammer on because we're making money from it. We cannot progress as a nation if we continue to have this problem.
I think you've said it well, Adewale, because transparency is the matter here. I mean, if I got everything from, I beg to stand with you, because transparency is the matter here, because Nigerians don't react to prices. What Nigerians are reacting to most of the time is confusion, because today this price comes to this level, tomorrow it comes down to this level. Most of those importations are controlled and more like predictable, and so they can either calm the market or simply it's either they are calming the market, removing fear, or they are bringing fear. So I think Nigerians are only reacting to that confusion in this sector. For instance, if pricing looks more, should I say, arbitrary or unexplained, people do not understand what they are buying. Today it is like this, tomorrow it is 1 naira. What is even funny is that sometimes it's not even big. It's either 1%. This percent, that percent that is going out of this price, and when you calculate it, I mean, that's where I go back to trust again.
It's in the tune of billions.
That's where I go back to trust. That's where the trust of people will collapse. And once trust is gone, I always talk about trust. I know people must have gotten tired of me talking about trust, but everything still ties back to
because there's a trust
There's a trust deficit in Nigeria. Everything still ties back to trust, because even if once trust is gone, let us understand that even reasonable price adjustments triggers outrage in people. We should understand that. So people are just reacting completely to, that's a confusion. Because when we talk about stability here, when it comes to fuel prices and whatnot, it's not just about how many liters are we buying. Oh, if it is 800 naira, it should remain 800 naira for a very long time. We are talking about credibility here. Even the fuel prices, you can't even be assured that you will get clean fuel.
That is
another thing we are struggling with.
Because they continue to import substandard fuel. I must say this, Nigerian leaders or Nigerian government officials are one of the luckiest in the world. Because things like this would make other countries' citizens rise up. And ensure that the government will sit up. But when they have docile citizens in the country, and people continue to be docile because they've spoken out multiple times without them being heard, the essence of governance is to be responsive to the citizens. And that is why we are practicing a democratic system of governance, where the citizens can have access to express their displeasure, to be able to be part of the decision-making process in the country. We're not saying that everything that the citizens said has to happen, because the government are privy to information that we do not have as ordinary citizens. But we're saying that they need to be responsive to all and sundry in the country. We have a government that feels that feels communicating with its citizen is beneath it. A lot of information, we just get to hear it in the news. There are no policies that are... What's the National Orientation Agency doing? What is the Information Ministry doing? If you cannot disseminate information to everybody, so that at least everybody is on the same page. If this is the decision this country is doing, this is what the country is doing. Is it even when we don't have the president in the country for as many times as he's traveling abroad? Is that the president that wants to talk to the citizen? President Tinubu is going to be vying for the 2027 general elections. You've made promises. You talked about subsidy going. You said you're going to provide adequate electricity. You said good roads will be better. You've made a long list of things that you want to do. And when we look at the parameters, when we look at the successes that you've made so far, and we look at the failures of this administration so far, I beg to suggest, or I beg to claim, that the failures of this administration outweigh the successes that they've made. So how do you expect them to vote for you in the coming election? There are many people that will still vote for this administration, know that, because everybody can exercise their franchise and become party to whatever political affiliation they decide to choose. But the conversation still remains that the priority of the government should be to make life easier for the citizens in the country. You can't continue to make economic policies and telling Nigerians to endure. We've been enduring. At least we need to be seeing the dividend. You can't wait for 10 years to see the dividend.
No, we have to be patient.
We're patient enough. We are patient enough, and that's why we are seeing shortages of what is it called?
That's why it's a renewed hope agenda.
Shortage of medical practitioners in Nigeria, because they've endured for many years.
Yes.
A lot of agreements. There was a news I was reading about ASU. They are just signing, is it 2003 agreement or implementing 2004 agreement or what have you. That's why I've told you I'm not so interested in signing one agreement or MOU. They are important. They are part of the bureaucratic processes of governance. But actions, what are the resources put in place? What are the checks and balances that would ensure that the people that are being saddled with that responsibility carry out those responsibilities that they've been that have been assigned to the letter, and ensure that Nigerians benefit from it? We cannot continue to have this conversation today, tomorrow, and next year. And in the next 4 years after another administration has come and gone, we'll still sit at this table talking about fuel shortage in the country.
I mean, there are a lot of boxes for, the government to tick here, because when we talk about import licensing, I'm not saying that it shouldn't in its entirety exist, because it's more like risk management. It's more like spreading our supply chains into different angles. But what we are asking here is how it should be phased down, how we should, work for us, and all of those things should not work.
Local consumption. Exactly. If we're importing to refine to sell abroad. If we're importing to fill up our strategic reserves. If we're importing to ensure that when there's another pandemic, we can have adequate resources to be able to share around. We're not importing to solve every 2 months business. Another 2 months we want to import to fill the void. That is not what we want. That's
where transition in leaders also even comes in. I think this just came to my mind, because if next year we are preparing for another election, and then another leadership will come in, and then approvals will stall, and then we begin to get all of this uncertainty again. Just like you said, we should understand that most of this credible transition in whatever angle needs a good benchmark, not the whole, I want to use a very colloquial term, serere. we should understand that, because we should understand that all of this price stability, there should be price stability across regions. We should, like you said, proper information should meet people. Proper information should meet people. That's why the media is there. Proper information should come from the upper body and meet people. We need to tick all of these boxes. When I mean all of these boxes, you're talking of, proving logistics resilience during peak demand seasons, not the one that, because it's festive season, we begin to see prices surge from where to where. Is there any well, from where to where? We won't even understand where it's coming from. So we should fix all of these issues. It's very, very important. But we'll say enough rather, Wale. Anything you need to say before we have our senior analysts come join us to still talk about this? Let's get it from a senior man perspective.
Let's
get it from a senior man perspective.
A senior man perspective.
Yes,
but
yes.
It's very difficult. Time is very difficult for most Nigerians right now, because we're seeing when we talk about the inflation, the federal government said the inflation has gone down a little. IMF is saying that the reforms that this administration is making is actually positioning Nigeria economic situation to be strengthened. We understand that. We understand all of that. But if that cannot translate to benefit ordinary Nigerians, then we're not making headway. We'll go on a quick break right now. When we come back, we're joined by our senior analysts to have more on this story. Stay with us.
Number 5. Space-based internet and satellite mega constellations. Getting online anywhere on Earth is becoming a reality. SpaceX's Starlink already has over 6,000 satellites in orbit, serving more than 3 million subscribers as of mid-2025. OneWeb, Amazon's Project Kuiper, and China's Huawei constellation are racing to expand coverage too. These networks are targeting rural areas, disaster zones, and developing countries where laying fiber is too costly. But they also raise new challenges, like orbital congestion and light pollution affecting astronomy. By 2026, satellite internet will be more than a backup. It will be part of everyday global infrastructure.
(5G technology). 5G technology promises to be a game changer by delivering ultra-fast internet speeds, low latency, and the ability to connect millions of devices seamlessly. It's going to fuel the future of smart cities, autonomous vehicles, and IoT devices, allowing them to communicate in real time. However, 5G rollout isn't without hurdles. High costs of infrastructure and regulatory issues in some regions have slowed down implementation. By 2026, the 5G market is expected to be valued at $667.90 billion, with the US, China, and South Korea leading the change. The challenge? Cybersecurity risks and data privacy will remain top concerns as more devices become connected. AI augmented development. AI is now revolutionizing software development by automating code generation, testing, and debugging. Tools like GitHub Copilot suggest code snippets in real time, significantly speeding up the development process. However, developers need to remain cautious, as over-reliance on AI tools could introduce security vulnerabilities. As companies push for faster software delivery, AI-augmented development is becoming essential for maintaining competitiveness. Democratize generative AI. Generative AI, which creates new content like text, images, or music, is becoming more accessible. This trend is enabling businesses and individuals to leverage powerful AI tools without needing deep technical expertise. Tools like DALL-E are already transforming marketing, entertainment, and design. However, as generative AI becomes democratized, concerns about copyright infringement and misuse of content are rising.
Okay, man.
Welcome back. You're still on Idea Morning Digest on Idea Television. The conversation has been Nigeria's import licenses for petroleum into the country. Now we're joined by senior analyst Chris Ejiofor to hear his perspective on the discussion. Welcome.
Yeah, my brother.
Thank you very much for joining us on the program today. Nigeria, federal government has given import licenses to importers or to business people to import fuel into the country, and the conversation has been about local consumption to fill the void that has been left behind. So when you look at the in Nigeria from the 1960s, it's an oil producing nation and has been the bulk of source of revenue for the country, and 60 plus years after, we do not have access petroleum products in the country, and we are betting on importation into the country, and conversations about the refineries, local refineries that are not working, and now we've seen a private investor in the person of Dangote invest in the industry and has been able to ensure that continued access to fuel products in the country is provided as and when necessary to stop the shortage of fuel in the country. With this recent development that the federal government is giving more licenses for the importation of fuel into the country, are we getting it right, or where are we getting it wrong in this country?
The way it is, we are not getting it right. Let me put it that way. Because the problem is this. Since 1960, Nigeria had about 10 refineries commissioned till now, but suddenly we have the major ones, which is Kaduna Refinery, Warri Refinery, Port Harcourt Refinery, and then the recent one, the Dangote Refinery. Dangote is meant to produce 650 barrels per day, which is the largest compared to what the government had in the past. So if there is a shortfall, because this is certainly from what you are seeing, it shows that there's a shortfall. And that gap means that Nigeria cannot continue to be sustained by what we have at hand now. So definitely what the government is telling us is that we need, most of the refineries are not working at capacity. That's the truth about it. Even the Dangote is the only one working at almost full capacity. All other ones have gone underground more or less. And money was spent on turnaround maintenance, which we never see the result today. So it tells that government is not a real business man in when it comes to running business. Government should answer their hand from doing refining business. It should be handed over to people who knows how to run the business, which is either petrochemical companies or refined companies, majorly locally, or sell it out to those who are businessmen in terms of this area of business. Let's look at it. So in a sense, so it all shows that the capacity has fallen down to back up what we have. And falling down means that the company itself, as the refineries, are not more or less working. You look at what is more or less fully underground now. Look at Port Harcourt. Port Harcourt was last, the turnaround maintenance was done in 2023. But today I don't think they have up to 20 barrels per day capacity. You understand? And the other ones, because what's the name? The past government, which is Buhari, mooted an idea of modular refineries. The idea of modular refineries is that instead of going to chase the boss at the creek there in the Delta State and the rest, you license some of them to start producing, they call them modular refineries, small refineries, and pull into the major capacity where the government can be able to sustain, which is what Brazil is doing today and a lot of other countries. So modular refinery is the way to go. Then shut down a lot of this waste. That's it.
You mentioned, before, Cynthia, because I understand that you have a lot of questions, you talked about allowing the market forces to be able to operate refineries in Nigeria. The news broke last week that the NNPC, Nigerian Petroleum Corporation, is looking forward to attract more investors into the country. But what they continue to say is that they want to sell some stakes of the business and not the entirety of it. Are you saying that that is not... that is a step in the right direction, I understand. But is that step, are we 10 steps forward and 10 steps backward? Because if you're not selling it outright, if you're retaining the largest share of being a larger shareholder of these companies, then the problems that we continue to have will persist. So how do we ensure, should we encourage the federal government to command the sale of the entire refineries that we have in the country? Because that is the way forward, according to what you said.
Actually, that's the way forward. I think they should hands off from that refining business and hands it over to experts who are into this oil refinery marketing or petrochemical companies, either overseas or local. But then the government should, because see, all over the world, where you see government come into a business, it hardly succeeds. NASA today is not owned by America. It's purely businessmen who are into space exploration. So if you are doing business of major business areas all over the world is handled by experts and not government. You only government do the policy. The policy, you only give them the guidelines and policy, and then hands off and let the companies take care of the whatever business they are going to run, and you get results more than government intervene. If you get 60% major share, indirectly you are controlling the business. Do you understand? So it's outright sell-off.
So we are saying that because there's been a transition in leadership with the at the NMDPROA, and we hear a lot of people talk about delays at the regulator affecting supply. So my question is about leadership. Remember, I was hitting on leadership when myself and Adewale were discussing earlier on. So how do you think how big of an impact does transition in leadership, especially in bodies like the upstream and downstream and petroleum agency, really have on what we see in our daily fuel prices?
You see, I think leadership is a continuum. Yes, it doesn't stop the buck doesn't stop at who is there now and who will be there tomorrow. All what you need to do is to put the guideline. When you know the guideline, subsequent government or subsequent leadership of that particular organization must follow whatever you set down and continue from where you stop. So it shouldn't be that because you are leaving, then you put a box stop that the system cannot work again or shouldn't work the way it's supposed to work. So the idea is that it's a continuous exercise whereby leadership. That's why we are putting people who have the capacity to run the business, so that they will start from whatever the former body stopped, and then from there continue. Not only that you come and you want to start your own business, you want to start it the way you want it, such that this is your only interest. Because what creates our business here in this sector part of the world is that people have vested interest, and vested interest don't allow business to grow in a society. Okay. So that's it.
I have a follow-up question to that, and then I have another question. But first, the follow-up question to that. When we talk about leadership being a continuum, what we've seen in the Nigerian system is that we wait for the 4 years or for the 8 years of one administration before we begin to look at the checks and balances and begin to look at the overdraft and look at the expenses that has been made in one agency, perhaps the upstream or downstream or the Ministry of Petroleum itself, or even the Niger Delta or different agencies in Nigeria. How can we ensure that while the government is still in power, there are different checks and balances that are looking at the activities of regulators, or even the regulators themselves are being scrutinized as to how they are carrying out their responsibility when it comes to the importation, refining, even the production capacity in the country. So it's after 4 years that we begin to say, oh, this person has embezzled $20 billion, this person has carted away $50 billion to go and buy shares or houses, or one minister has bought 500 units of mansions somewhere in Abuja. How can we ensure that while the government is still in power? Because the conversation has been about witch hunt. When one government leaves, another people come in and then they want to witch hunt who has been in power before them. So how can we ensure that those in power are being prosecuted or are being investigated about the activities that they are doing? Because what they do is very, very concerning for most Nigerians, and it affects them while they are still in power, not when they leave. So they should be able to answer the crimes for the crimes that they commit while the government is still in power. How can we be able to achieve that?
I think the problem now is the governance itself. The way our government is designed. Our government we designed by ourselves. It's not the normal situation as it happened to in other parts of the world. Our system is such that when you are in power, because you are part of the power broker, you dip your hand into things that you're not supposed to be part of the working system. You can't be part of the government and there are oversight functions done by National Assembly. There are oversight functions. Every unit or every sector of the system we have people, a committee in National Assembly that regulates and follows it up. You go to our places and find out, okay, give me what is the budget given to you this year was so amount. And that is budget. What have you done with the budget? Let us see what you have done with the budget. From there, it has seen what we call the Nigerian system loopholes. It starts seeing what is happening. That's not the case of where people after leaving office, 10 years after, I start to say this person is holding. See the case of Attorney inflation, the first one, Malami. You know, now it's coming that Malami has a lot of money that he has to account for. But while in power, because he was part of the system, the system covers him and shields him. And that is the problem we are having today in Nigeria. So it's a part of the system that we need to fix up. While you're in power, you can't be an overriding body that makes sure that the system is suppressed, the truth. This period now you should be, that's why we're talking about overhauling the entire Nigerian system. Such that if you're in power, you can't be above the law. The law must take its place and take its course while you are there. So nobody should be above the law. That's the system that we have to start making our laws functional. That's the idea.
Secondly, I will still have to add to that, but because of time, let me go to my second question first, and that's the issue of monopoly when it comes to the oil sector in Nigeria. Before Dangote invested billions of over $20 billion into the refining sector in the country, we've seen that you talked about modular refineries, even the dilapidated ones that we have in Kaduna and all of that. None has worked in the country. But here comes a man who has invested. He has invested in different sectors in the country, and it has helped to uplift even the cement, sugar, and some other household items. But he has invested heavily in this industry, the petroleum industry. We've seen many attacks comes to him. Pegasus and some other regulatory agencies are suffocating the efforts that is trying to ensure that there are adequate and easy access to petroleum refined products in the country. How do we ensure that the concerns about these agencies about monopoly is addressed while also allowing Dangote the leeway, the market environment for him to thrive and ensure that he has adequate crude from the Nigerian production capacity, and also access to import, and also access to supply all across the country? Because if we continue to have the conversations about monopoly in the country, and those are the interests of business people, we understand, but Nigerians need to have access to this product at a very affordable price. So how do we solve this conundrum of what on one hand we have issues about monopoly, on the other hand we have Nigerians that want to just have access to it, monopoly or not, we want the price to come down, we want to have access to it at peak period. So how do we solve this conundrum?
The way to solve what you mentioned is more or less the only way out is for the government to make sure you break monopoly. Every businessman in major cities of the world or major western parts of the world, they're all capitalists, including Elon Musk. They are capitalists, you understand? And the major thing about a capitalist is that he wants to maximize profit. So what Dangote is doing today is not the issue of monopoly. It's the government that created the monopoly. For example, let me give an example. Where is our cement business? Dangote bought a lot of, where is Boko cement? Where is Nkalagu cement? Where is Uyeli cement? They're all gone underground. Dangote bought many of them. And today, what we're talking about, Dangote cement. Where is Ibeto cement? Ibeto cement, I could remember about 5 years ago, Ibeto was asking that Nigerians should, Dangote must sell cement at 5,000 naira. So, at 1,000 naira. Today, where is Ibeto? It was during the Obasanjo regime, they suppressed Ibeto cement. Ibeto cement went underground because it was challenging the status quo. So Ibeto cement went underground. So leaving Dangote alone as the main sole monopoly when it comes to cement business. So it's all about governance, what we're talking about. So if you're talking about the issue of oil too, let me relate to the oil business and petrochemical business. Dangote is doing well because he is the sole operator of that business. But once government comes in, then I know there's a government alliance in all that thing, but when government comes in, it's going that he will not perform properly again. You will see him today, he's major LPG and the rest, he has them refined. You understand? Nigerian, let me say, NNPC, Port Harcourt, only run from 1960. 1965, we start breaking down. From the 70s, where we have all these major refineries, Warri and Port Harcourt, till date. In the 90s, they start going down. Many of them there. But if Dangote come and sustain the capacity till now, It was meant to produce 650 barrels per day, and we still almost maintain it. Without understand which government finance it have done so. So understand. So the issue of monopoly is created by government, and these are loopholes we have to stop. You open the market, let there be competition. Today we are talking about in telecom business. Nobody talking about it. We bought SIM at that time. I bought SIM about 13,000 one SIM. Today we are buying SIM. What? How much? I think 500 naira times. At the time it was even 200 naira.
At time it was. You could go somewhere and come and
because network wants customer.
They don't want a customer.
That's it. So in a sense, so that's where we should be. Is the government? That's what we call when the government is genuine to make things work. It will work. So that's why we begin to work on the system. The system is what we are having issue now today in this country. Let the system operate the way it's supposed to operate. And then as well, everything will go on fine.
Very well said, Engineer Chris. I think you've hinted, how will I say, you have hit on, should I say, policy ambition very well, because if we're looking at things, if Nigeria wants full confidence in our domestic refining capacity, we have to earn it through performance. It's very obvious. I think it's out there in the open for even a blind man can, see that there's nothing that will be performing very well that people will not want to hop on. Because first of all, we have to understand that market responds to, evidence. And what we, the consumers, respond to is if there is availability of this fuel for people to, consume and buy at affordable rates and can also access them. So I think the reform at the end of the day will just be that everything should just be in alignment with policy ambition. And that brings me back to because I'm still particular about this licensing. I am looking, I'm tilting more to the positive side of what do they call it, of this import licensing. So I want us to just look down the roads now and see how I want to understand how the government should decide on phasing out this import licensing completely.
You see, the way the government way of phasing out import licensing completely is that you must have what you call a buffer capacity. So that when there's a shortfall, you go back to what you have. Today America is one of the best highest consumer of energy. But Alaska has what will take America for the last 50 years without importing. But they are major importer. You see what's happening in the Gulf today. They always make sure that they have flow of energy. Even if what is doing in Venezuela today because of issue of oil and what you understand. Not that they don't have as a buffer. They have the one that will take them for almost 100 years now. But they are still going for making sure that there's stability in the oil sector so that the system continue to function. So if we are interested in making sure that we don't have all these shortfalls, it all goes on what am I talking about is your policy and making sure that the importers who will give license make sure that if at all are giving them license, are they really to work and make sure that we have a fallback. You understand? So it boils down to government policies, you understand, making sure that there's stability in the whole sector. The whole sector, understand? So the problem now is all about what we call about sincerity of government when it comes to issuing of license. You don't issue license because you want to have a fallback to whatever energy you want to have as your buffer capacity. But then the monopolies that are running, thank God we know that in the past 3 years there seems to be stability. There's no scarcity in the sand of petroleum or gas. And then the time of gas, very few gas in the sand. But then it tells you something that Dangote refinery is actually covering the gaps. You understand? So giving them more license, it's like you are opening up the space for them. Are you ready to contain the fallout that will follow it up, or the confusion that follows it? Because the more people license, the more you bring confusion in the system. You understand? So why not allow Dangote to maintain the capacity at which he is refining today, rather than giving out open license? Because I know there's a lot of competition in the oil sector, and the lot of interest. The interest is what's causing all this. The government still have interest. There are people in government who still want interest, who want to. Because Dangote, if you heard from Dangote, a lot of problem he had when putting up this refinery, you know that actually it will not be easy for him. But the government have to create the enabling environment for him to thrive. That's the major thing.
If we're looking at the energy sector, we're seeing that there's, because this is Nigeria TV and we're focused on innovation and creativity and how can we expand human capacity to solve our problems. We're seeing a transition away from fossil fuel in the world today into the area of renewable energy. And we've talked about solar. China is the largest producer. It installs a capacity that towers above the rest of the world combined every year in the world. And even Elon Musk, that you mentioned earlier, says the source of energy will be solar for the future. And we're seeing, when we look at policies, because at Idea TV we're also interested in policies and regulations in the country, we're seeing tariffs being levied on the importation of solar panels into the country. So how can Nigeria, as an energy consumer, energy producer and energy consumer as well, channel its resources into renewable energy? There was a time we were talking about CNG and it was the talk of town. Now it has fizzled away and with no longer queues at CNG station across Abuja, across the cities in Nigeria. So how can we ensure that Nigeria is moving towards the aspect of renewable energy when it comes to wind, solar, or even other alternatives for the country? So what can we do? What can the government do in terms of regulation, in terms of access, easy access to importation into the country? Because we're not producing it yet. What should be done?
What should be done? Okay, let me take you back. I think there's one of your programs, InnoVenture, you did on conversion of, I think, fuel to CNG. What I've done. On the road there, you see CNG buses moving about. Well, the transition is such that it's either you are on CNG in fossil fuel. There's a switch between the two. But most people would have gone for CNG because it's cheaper. But then I think that thing has fizzled away. It boils down to our policy. It's a field enough now. But so let me take you back. In the issue of what government can do, you understand, in terms of renewable energy. You see, the government, let me give example using the developed world. We are developing, agreed, but then we must take a cue. You understand, to get there. You know, yesterday, America have issue with Harvard University, saying that Harvard, they are trying to break up the contract between government and Harvard. Why? Because America still gives schools what we call a package, research package, to major schools. Harvard was in hand with NASA. Most of what you are seeing today, most of these things are given to schools in U.S. to develop that particular area of science. And it becomes a feeder, what we call a feeder point to a major institution or agencies. So you understand? What happened is it was political because they saw Harvard, what happened last time during the Gulf War. Many of them protesting and the rest. So now see that it's no longer what is supposed to be, a research center. Rather, it's gone political. That's why they now sever that arrangement between the state, state agency in the U.S., NASA, and Harvard. So what am I trying to say? The government can Medugri. I remember Medugri in those days. There are grants given to Medugri for research. The same grant was given to Professor Ojobi Unilag then. Professor Ojobi was doing on energy sustenance using electromotive. He did it. He succeeded in doing it. Till he died. But today, that business died in Assam. So government put in money to schools for research. You pick major schools, not all the schools. There are schools you pick out. Look at them. Look at the profile. You pick them out and finance them. Finance the research in that school and let them research on a particular area and then feed it back to the government. The government agencies begin to grow with it. That's what you see. You go to Iran today, about every four houses in Iran have their own particular what they produce in Iran today.
Despite the sanctions.
Despite that, yes, yes, that's what I see them today. Within a short time, they become a power. To challenge America. So those are things we government here should be able to learn that we must put in money to grow in research. As we're growing research, we're growing the economy. We are making the country become stable and sustainable. So what I'm trying to say, for example, there are place I went when I traveled to Beijing. That's Guangdong. It's a village.
China.
China. I went on excursion. The old woman who saw there is about 75 years old woman. What she's doing? Producing a solar panel. Over 1,000 every day. This one never went to the formal school. That's how China grows today. China don't believe that there must be a formal school for it to develop.
Yes.
In picking talents and allow them to go into production. You understand? That man was where we are looking at. Say, oh, madam, which school did you go? He said, no. She had never been to any school. He was only brought into the factory and showed how to produce panel. That's what she's doing inside the typical village. China there, she's producing that. So it all boils down to understand when you want what's in. So China is going green energy today, and major countries of the world today in EV electric motors. I think they are the leading.
Yeah.
You understand? So it's not because of, it's not a rocket science. It's all boils down to the system we operate. If you want the system to grow, the system has to grow. And that's the only way out.
Indeed, even record science has become easier. Investment in research and development, just like you mentioned. Thank you so much. We've been speaking to Chris Ejiofor, senior analyst and commentator at Idea Television. The conversation continues after the break.
Number 6, digital twins for cities and industries. Digital twins, real-time virtual replicas of physical systems, are expanding fast. Singapore has already built a national digital twin to simulate urban planning, monitor traffic, and manage energy use. In manufacturing, companies like Siemens and GE use digital twins to model factories and machines, cutting downtime and improving efficiency. During the 2020 Tokyo Olympics, organizers tested digital twin technology to manage crowd flow and logistics. Analysts at Deloitte predict that by 2026, nearly 70% of large industrial companies will use digital twins in some form, making them a core part of operations. Number 7.
Welcome back. You're still on Idea Television, and the program is Idea Morning Digest. I'm Adewale Olashopo. Now we move on to the third segment of the morning program, and this is What's Trending. We're looking at all of the stories that have made waves over the weekend and the conversations that have trailed them on social media. We'll start with the first story. Trump praises Remi Tinubu at U.S. breakfast in Washington. Oshiomhole visits Tinubu on diplomatic victory. Later we look at Senate's rejection of electronic transmissions sparked outrage. And lastly, Nollywood box office boom. Funke Akindele regains Supreme amid debates on cinemas. Now let's go into that in detail. Over the weekend, reactions have trailed a widely circulated video of Donald Trump praising Remi Tinubu, the wife of Nigeria's President Bola Ahmed Tinubu. U.S. President praised Nigeria's First Lady as a very respected woman during his address at the 74th Annual National Prayer Breakfast held on Capitol Hill in Washington, D.C. on Thursday, February 5th, 2026. In the viral clip from the high-profile faith-based event, which gathers political leaders, clergy, and international dignitaries to emphasize spiritual values and unity, Trump praised his remarks to publicly acknowledge, publicly acknowledge Senator Oluremi Tinubu's presence as an invited guest. Let's watch the video.
They didn't want to use it, and we're using it again. But I specifically told Pete, I said, hit him on Christmas Day. Not earlier and not later, right, Pete? And man, did he hit him. So then we hit him again recently. We hit him again pretty hard. But we're honored to be joined today by the First Lady of Nigeria, who also happens to serve as a Christian pastor at the largest church in Nigeria, a very respected woman. First Lady, please, where are you? Thank you very much. It's a great honor. Thank you very much. Very respected person, too. Thank you. I'm also working tirelessly to end dangerous conflicts and help move past ancient hatreds. In October, I ended the war in Gaza, saving hundreds of thousands of lives. It's amazing. We have peace in the Middle East, by the way. First time in 3,000 years. We have peace. There are little embers, but it's nothing much. You know, we got back the last hostage, dead hostage. We got back all the hostages now.
Well, President Trump went ahead to invite Oluremi Tinubu to the stage and drew a lot of applause. Cynthia, we've seen a lot of comments stream this online about from a country of particular concern to our First Lady being recognized by Trump himself. And a lot of people have said this is just a media stunt. Why was Remi Tinubu present there? And we're seeing a lot of conversations online about the distraction from the issue, political issue, the economic issue, the security issue in the country. And we have in the next video we're going to see what Adams Oshiomhole has to say about it, but what's your reaction to that?
First of all, Wale, I'm laughing because, you know, it's only right for Nigerians. I don't want to should I say dispatch their feelings. Everybody have the right to feel the way they want to feel about this. But I think it is not the praise itself that matters. It is the place that it happened and the framing that we should
is this
look
the result
at.
of the lobbyists that they paid for that has been able to to achieve?
You know, in Nigeria, we reward most of the time. I think this moment, I just feel like, you know, let me even start. In Nigeria, we reward all of this, you know, praise the citizens' major leadership with should I say, through economic pressure, through food stability or food instability, through security reasons or non-security reasons, through that institutional trust. But, you know, in the abroad, it's different. In most developed countries, it is different. Take the US, for example, where it happened. It is very different. Most of the time, a spiritual nod can be translated to, should I say, political competency as well. It could be, take how the U.S. President Donald Trump takes the way he places Nicki Minaj. People will say, oh, she's singing, oh, you know, about nudity, she's singing about this, about that. But it could just be that you are always present in rooms that shapes matters for good.
So is Remi Tinubu present in the room that's shaping the matter?
Donald Trump is a religious you know, he has religious inclinations.
Yes.
And Remi Tinubu has religious inclinations too. So it is only right, that's why I said it is the framing and the venue. She can go to some other places. It can happen in another place, even in the US, and she would not be, you know, praised for this. But it happens that Donald Trump, who has a strong religious standing, you know, is praising the president of Nigeria's wife, who has strong religious standing as well.
Emphasizing more on the strong religious standing. But most Nigerians are more concerned about the political inclination.
That is why
I know that is why.
So I'm trying to explain.
But let's look at the reaction that we've also have from our next story, Adams Oshiomhole, who has also visited President Bola Ahmed Tinubu. In another video circulating online, Senator Adams Oshiomhole, prominent APC figure on a visit to President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, described Trump's recognition as a testament to inclusive governance and Nigeria's growing global respect, while congratulating the President and the First Lady. The event occurred against the backdrop of broader bilateral discussions through Trump's comments focused primarily on courtesy and faith. A video of the exchange has garnered significant views across platforms, with some describing it as a distraction to the viral video of Oshiomhole massaging a South African lady on a private jet. Let's take a look.
2026, to wish him a happy new year. But also, very importantly, yesterday we saw how the world's most powerful man, President Donald Trump of the United States of America, you know, acknowledging not just the President of Nigeria, First Lady, describing her as a very respectable woman, a very responsible woman, and a pastor of the largest church in Nigeria. And he invited her to stand up for recognition. Now, if you see how some other presidents are even, the kind of language, President Trump is very blunt. So when he uses those kind of words to describe our First Lady, as a Nigerian, I feel proud. And I thought it's important enough for us to say, Mr. President, congratulations. Because if it was the other way around, imagine what the opposition would be saying now. And for Trump to say, Nigeria First Lady is here. He is a Christian, but also a Christian pastor. A woman that commands respect, a responsible and respectable woman. So congratulations. And you saw the applause. He was beaming to recognize the First Lady. So for me as a Nigerian, that for me is worth celebrating.
So what do you think that means diplomatically for Nigeria?
Pardon?
What do you think that means diplomatically for Nigeria?
It just means that, first and foremost, to the credit of Mr. President, that Trump understands that the Nigerian president is a Muslim, but he now celebrates the fact that he has a Christian wife who is also a pastor of the largest church in Nigeria. So there can be no tension between the Quran and the Bible. And that for me is a message to all Nigerians that we should just work together as a people for the common.
Well, that's the video of Oshomole congratulating President Bola Ahmed Tinubu and Oluremi Tinubu for their recognition by the United States government. But another conversation has been about, is this a cover-up for your own viral video that has been circulating on social media, massaging a lady's leg on
First of all, calling Trump's cutboard. Trump's a diplomatic milestone is a stretch.
But I think you agreed with them because you talked about the religious
I'm trying to
and how it's affects.
I was going somewhere with that. Okay. I was going somewhere with that because we are saying, that's why I say it's a, for Oshomole to come out and say Trump's courtesy, is a diplomatic milestone. I think it's a stretch, and every Nigerian is aware of that. But we understand that the real intention here is about internal reassurance. Election is coming up, so this is like a way reminding the parties, reminding supporters globally that we are here. We have done well. We are not isolated, though. We are still in you people's faces, and we are working. And we know God, though. You understand? So it's less about Washington. It's less about the USA. It's about what is happening in Abuja right now. It's about internal affairs. And so
the market strategy.
Yes, going back to what I was saying about Trump's, I'm trying to like I always say, Trump has a polarizing. He's a polarizing figure. First of all, so there's this mixture of politics and religion. Everybody knows Trump, and everybody knows that Trump is always loud when it comes about religious activities, so as he is loud about political activities. So he is, from how I have known Trump, he is fond of praising people that have the same stance with him. That is the way I'm looking at it from Trump's own point of view. But now, Nigerian leaders, or should I say this party, want to play smart now using that. So they want to use it now to buy people's, trust. If the US, because most Nigerians believe strongly that anything that comes from America is, potent, is strong, is the right thing. So if the US president praises Remi Tinubu, then they are doing a good work. They are doing a good thing. So they want to use that now to. Okay, I'm not trying to push a narrative here, but let's just.
Well, the master strategist continue to prove himself as the Jagaban of Nigeria.
Yes,
despite his wife.
It's just about I'm seeing domestic artists here dressed in international clothing, but we should just move on.
Waves on social media. The Senate's rejection of mandatory real-time electronic transmission of election results has ignited widespread outrage across Nigeria, with critics accusing the Senate leader of undermining electoral transparency ahead of the 2027 general elections. On February 4, 2026, during the clause-by-clause consideration and third reading of the Electoral Act Amendment Bill 2026, the Senate rejected the proposed amendments to Clause 60, subsection 3, that would have allowed the real-time electronic upload of a polling unit results to the Independent National Electoral Commission (INEC) results in viewing portal IREV compulsory. Instead, lawmakers retained the existing provision from the 2022 Electoral Act, which allowed electronic transmission in a manner as prescribed by the Commission, making it discriminatory rather than mandatory. Senate President Godswill Akpabio defended the decision, insisting the Senate did not reject electronic transmission outright, but deliberately removed the real-time requirement to avoid endangering democracy due to technological and infrastructural challenges. Let's listen to him.
Clause 60. Yes, Senator Monguno.
Mr. President, distinguished senators, my name is Mohamed Tahir Monguno. I represent Borunet Senatorial District. Mr. President, I propose that instead of using the word transmission, we should retain what is in the existing word extant law, which is transfer.
Any seconder?
Yes, second.
Yes, DSP.
I second.
Okay.
Didn't hear what he said.
The motion has been moved and seconded. Those in support say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Can we go to... I hope you heard what they said.
Well, conversations on social media and opposition voices, including People's Democratic Party and Labour Party affiliates, have described the rejection as a betrayal of public trust and the rollback of democratic gains from the 2022 reforms. Public backlash has been intense, with civic society groups, the Nigerian Bar Association, and engineers dismissing Senate objections as technically flawed. The decision has renewed fears of manipulation similar to controversies in the 2023 elections. Plans for protests are ongoing and gaining momentum, particularly from the obedience movement supporters of Peter Obi, who have threatened mass demonstrations at the National Assembly to demand mandatory e-transmission. Meanwhile, the viral video circulating under the handle Peter for Nigeria, associated with grassroots activities and Peter Obi supporters, has amplified the outrage. In the clip, the activist passionately condemns the Senate's action as part of a pattern of electoral sabotage, urging Nigerians to protest and shine their eyes ahead of the 2027 general elections. If we have that video, we can pull that up now of Peter for Nigeria. But while they try to bring that up, I think the conversations has been extensive over the weekend about the Senate's decision to of the electoral system in Nigeria. Gone are the days when we should be having conversation about we can't have this because of technology. It should be a shame to the country that all part of the country cannot have internet facility, especially when it comes to transmission of results in electronic results in the country. And we've seen INEC come out to also say that they have nothing to do other than to follow the provisions of the law. Whether or not they can transmit electronically or not has to be decided by the law. But in the litigation that followed the 2023 general elections, we've seen that INEC was also included as one of the litigants as to see to come and discuss their own action when it comes to the 2023 general elections. There's also a period of time for them to see that. But let's take a look at the video that we mentioned online of Ran.
These are the names of all members of the Senate Committee on INEC and Electoral Reforms. Now, the people who don't they meet for more than 2 years be this, and at the end, we are getting a document of fraud that is only going to aid criminality and rigging in the coming elections. We must hold them accountable, because by now, the committee chairman, Senator Lalong, and all of you should be coming out publicly to explain to Nigerians exactly what was your resolution from all the meeting we will get with the House Committee on Electoral Reform. What was sent to the floor of the Senate and what is being finally passed. Because members of the 10th National Assembly, you have been too comfortable, and that is why you can afford to be engaging in this level of mischief and corruption without any pressure from the people. Nigerians, if you know your lawmaker, begin to reach out to them, begin to call them, begin to send them messages, because they must feel the heat and the pressure to know, say, come 2027, anything short of a free and fair elections, Nigeria will reject it in its totality. Make nobody panic. Nobody should whine you. Everything you see going on today is a careful plan. Everything where they do so, all they shout, why don't they shout? In this place now, they won't make it reach, because there be no one even pass the new electoral bill. APC has no plan for free and fair election. The plan is to impose on Nigerians an incompetent and incapacitated leader where go give them opportunity to engage in their criminality and corruption in public office, and for them to come back. So everything where they do, nobody should get confused. All the clauses where they talk, not be only electronic transmission of results. Remember, even when Senator Seraki Dixon was talking about moving the burden of proof from the petitioners to INEC, because as it be for Nigeria election today, now you wear the rig, now you go they struggle to get materials. Meanwhile, INEC will still be preventing you. So it be like you they take both INEC and every other person to court. All of those clauses now, we know they hear about them again. This electronic transmission of results from every public hearing where they do as for National Assembly, the majority of people insisted, say because the last bill been carried, the last acts carried, that it should be at the discretion of INEC.
As we've seen, as Peter has said, the National Assembly has a responsibility to ensure that there's a free and fair election in this country, and the election is also credible. So the idea that we can't transmit electronically should be a thing of history. When you make a transfer on your phone, maybe they need to look at the people that are providing the technology for us and look at alternatives. About how can we get a better technology. If you need to look at the finance sector in the country, where are you getting your own technology from? You can make transfer anywhere in the world. Whether the transfer goes or not, it is registered on the system that you've made that transfer. If it is SMS that has been used, you can also see it wherever it is being done in the country. So, and the people have also made the argument that it can actually go, it can be transmitted immediately, and so far that nobody can alter that process. And when there is an internet facility, it just shows directly. So you are in a rural community, you've done the accreditation, people have voted, you've transmitted the result. It has not reflected, but it has been automated from where you are. So when you get to a place where there is internet facility, it automatically shows. So you don't have to have any human interaction or intervention to go and check again to see how can it be done. So that's the conversation we need to have. But there's been planned protests and activities that are supposed to go on. And I hope that the government yield to people's demands to ensure that
I hope that they understand that it's not another. I hope that they understand that it's not another opposition theatrics. Because for a very long time in Nigeria, most of I think this generation. Let me even start with this generation. I think this generation have learned that. Silence have been interpreted as consent, and now we are tired and they want to stand up and say, okay, whether or not demonstrations succeed, at least the psychological shift is already there in this generation, that we are not taking yes or no for an answer. We are taking what is right for, as the answer at this point in time. And elections are no longer administrative events any longer. They are more, because if you look at it, yes, going back to election being more an administrative event, it's no longer that again. It's more like an emotional battleground. So I feel like public anger here is not just about technology, just as you've consistently mentioned. Nigerians understand network failures better than most countries. So when it's a shame that public what do they call them? The Senate is coming out to talk about infrastructure facilities. Who is supposed to put infrastructural facilities in place? And then they are coming out to tell us that is not what we are talking about. We should be talking about credibility here. We are talking about infrastructure, putting it of infrastructure. How can the Senate come out and say that is the issue they are having? That is why they want flexibility. We have understood that for a long time, flexibility have not favored voters. It has never favored voters. So Nigerians, what Nigerians are saying, because you mentioned the 2023 election, because after the 2023 election, many citizens no longer give institutions that benefit of doubt any longer. Because this is where I still go back to trust again. I'll never stop talking about trust as long as it concerns Nigeria's matter. That trust has been cracked. People say this is what we voted for, this is who we voted for, and they saw another thing, and you expect them to keep trusting in the system. So even if we have all the reasonable explanation here, you know, no matter how reasonable the explanations are, it will still sound as a defense, it will still sound defensive in the ears of the public. So I just feel like what we should be looking at here, what the Senate should be looking at here, is how to align morality. Morality should be the capital base here. But then that's the much I can, you know, so I think we need to move to the next.
Exactly. Moving on to the last quickly. Stories trending in Nigeria this weekend. Funke Akindele's box office success with her latest movie Behind the Scene has continued to drive conversation in the movie industry about issues surrounding movie promotion and marketing. Nollywood stars such as Mo Abudu, Kole Afolayan, and Omotola Jalade have debated Funke's marketing strategy, worried that they are unable to keep up with the trend. Mo Abudu mentioned that Funke Akindele is fantastic writer, a producer, an actor, a director, and she's been able to do all of that together, while many people are unable to do that. We saw that what started the conversation was actually Kunle Afolayan when he was doing the promotion of his movie, and it was asked to put in place. So what's going to be the gain for you put in place? So what's going to be the gain for you at the end of the day? So he's been sticking to the streaming platforms, as we've seen for his recent movie Anikolako, which has come to be the highest watched movie so far coming out from Nigeria. But also industry players like Mo Abudu, who also has the Ebony Life production, and also this Ebony Life Cinemas, has come to debunk the rumor about people being favored in the industry, and that if you cannot fit as number of people in the cinemas, your movie will be removed from there, because cinema operators are investing money, they're putting on the AC, they're running on generator and time to be able to do that. But Funke Akindele has made a pace setter, yes, exactly. Has been a pace setter in this industry, and she's used her own fantastic creative way, infusing dancing into the system. So I want to ask Cynthia now, when you go into the movie production, are you ready to dance?
I'm ready to do whatever is going to please and I think this is more about approval and appeasing, should I say appealing or appeasing the audience? Go ahead.
I want to also mention that this is a business. We need to forget about the art. When the art ends when you finish the post-production. When it comes to the money that you get out of it, this is the business side of it. So whatever strategy you can do, whether it is dancing like Funke Akindele, whether it is getting a marketing company that will do your marketing for you to get in the but Funke Akindele is a tried and tested strategy. Funke Akindele has a tried and tested strategy that has worked for her. So that's why many people are looking at her as a pace setter. She has set the pace for others to follow. I said, oh, I cannot dance. So can you dance?
Dance?
I cannot. I don't have it in me to do that. But let's look at other strategies rather than pointing fingers.
I think it's not even really about Funke Akindele. It's about, I think this discourse is very this issue is very wide now at this point in time. It's about the power of distribution in Nollywood, because just like you said, for years we're seeing, you know, success in the industry that is followed with, you know, some sort of predictable hierarchy from this to this, you know, from production, pre-production, post-production to, you know, to production, post-production. Then we talk about marketing and all of those things, you know, and validation, all of those elite cinema spaces and whatnot. But Funke Akindele came in and she disrupted the film system, and she treated it like mass communication. And I love it for her, and I love it for us too as audiences. But she treated it more like it's no longer just an art, just like you said. It's mass communication now. It's how you communicate with people. It's about demand and supply. That's why I say it's a talk about the power of distribution now. It's about demand and supply. You have to give people what they want. You don't give people what you feel is right for, even if you feel it is right for people, and if people disapprove, you have to take it down and go with what they want. I mean, we're in that time in the social media era where everybody is dancing on the internet, and we know what people buy to. I mean, she has studied, what I've seen Funke done is that she has studied her audience. Just the way political leaders have studied, their voters. She has studied them aggressively. She's unapologetic. She's, without shame. If this is what my audience want, this is what I'm going to, give to them. So all what's this, I understand there's place for healthy competition here. That is, if all of these are other big players, heavyweight industry champions that have been coming out to say she has done this wrongly. What is right and wrong? I think, I don't understand. Is there a rule book that says this thing is right and this other thing is wrong? So I think marketing here is very important. It has become very important, just as storytelling as a whole is too. It's not part of the game seriously. I remember those days where you have to give a marketer to go about. It's a serious business before, but now it's a more serious
and it's
business. It's all inclusive.
The actors and everything.
Exactly.
At the end of the day.
Everybody needs to come together. So I think Funke's dominance here I think it raises a hard question that Nollywood has avoided for a long time, because we are talking about making films for. That's when I talk about, are we making films for approvers, for people to approve, or we just want awards, or we want tickets, people to just buy the tickets so they can count, tick box office and say, okay, where does this competition? So I think the tension here rather is very healthy. It is very healthy, even if I know that it is very uncomfortable. But I do not see this is not me taking stance with Funke and saying and invalidating these other people's opinions. I just feel like we should understand that the game is changing. There's things are dynamic. So when you see something changing, you have to be a par with it. You have to follow it. And I just feel like no box office success that is there that doesn't automatically equal artistic superiority. So they cannot tell me that she has not put in the work and then she's just coming out. To dance, is it easy? Can I go and put my phone and start dancing? It takes a whole lot from you inside. Sometimes you post a picture and then you go and take it down. Sometimes you have not even posted it and you're thinking, should I post this and all of those things? But then, so we don't dwell on this that much. We don't have time.
Just to round off, I used to have a boss that says, when you sell shamelessly, you earn enviably.
Interesting.
So Funke has been selling shamelessly, both in Nigeria, the UK, America, Canada, and she's earning enviably right now. So that people can come across and say, oh, your strategy is actually too hard for us to follow. Well, find your own strategy and you'll make your own success. We've seen people go into YouTube as well. Many producers are saying, okay, if I can't get the box office money, if I can't get the streaming platforms to support my project, then I'll go on YouTube and put my films there. But that's much we can take on the conversation this morning on what's trending. Before we go, let's look at the weather update and see what's in what the weather has for us this day. And that's where we call it today on Idea Morning Digest. I'm Adewale Olashopo.
And I'm Cynthia Bassi.
Join us tomorrow, same time, same station. Keep watching.